get the record button going. If either one of the co-hosts can hit the record.
Yes, I think Rob has just done that now.
Okay, fantastic. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to our second Conversation Cafe. It was a new little project that we decided to do. And Dee has been so instrumental in helping me with so much. I wanted to make sure that she was the first one in this new format that we could interview. And really how this whole thing came about was we had a Conversations with Sharon program that we ran maybe a month ago. And we decided from that, it was so lovely to hear the sharing of everybody on that conversation. We wanted to get more stories because obviously we all have our stories, and sharing those stories and being raw and vulnerable with your stories means that people can relate. And that was the biggest thing that people found with the Conversations with Sharon, is that they loved to hear the stories. Dee has got a particularly wonderful story, and I really wanted her to hop on today. And Dee, I'm going to give you an opportunity just to give some background, and then we'll, just see what comes up. And obviously you're all welcome to put your questions in the chat box once Dee's given her little intro. I've got some questions I know I'd love to ask her, but we'll just go with the flow and see how it all comes together. So Dee, thank you for being part of this community. Thank you for all the work that you do and the way that you do it. And once you've given your little intro, maybe I'll just tag a little bit on the end of it if it doesn't come out in your story on how we met and how we came to be in some collaborations together. So welcome, Dee. Over to you.
Thank you, Sharon, and good morning, everyone. First, thank you so much, Sharon, for having me, and also for helping me find the courage to share my story, because it's actually just after Sharon that I've finally felt comfortable enough to share it. Sharon's always brought this beautiful energy into my life, and for those of you who know her, I'm sure you'll know it's like Sharon always has the perfect wisdom at the perfect time, just when you need it. And a little bit about me, I'm an entrepreneur, so I do social media marketing, and I also have a business support group called Warrior Bosses that I've created for women in business, just to support each other, not just monetarily, but emotionally, and to just be like the sisterhood of women in business. So that's me in a nutshell. And I'm always just this happy person, and I've always been bubbly and naturally positive, and most people who've met me that are on here know that. But besides all of that, there's a lot that people don't know and that I haven't shared, which is about all the loss and the trauma that's happened in my life. And for me, this started before I was even born. So 2 weeks before I was born, my dad's brother, he passed away. Then just being born into that, my whole family's in grief, and it's tragic. And obviously as a baby, I had no idea what was happening, but that's how I kind of developed my personality, because I was always just making people happy, because someone's just died, and then you have this little kid, and it's a reason to be happy and excited. And then there's my mom. She didn't want children, which is like, that's her own kind of prerogative. And then she also had bipolar disorder. So because of all of that, and her just not like feeling like she had to sacrifice her life to now be a mom and a wife, etc., we never had a good relationship, even before my parents were divorced. So in many ways, my gran became my mom, and also I had to, I guess, self-mother some of the times. With trauma, wow, there's been a lot. So when I was 7, my dad was hijacked and shot in the face. Thankfully, he survived. And when I was 9, he had 3rd-degree burns from his job, so he almost died again. And I just couldn't catch a break here, because when I was 11, my grandfather passed away unexpectedly in an accident. And then fast forward to 15, my dad and gran came to pick me up from school the one day, and they were actually chased from the bank. And so when they stopped to pick me up, they started shooting at them, and my dad kind of drove away. Again, thank heavens, everyone survived and no one was seriously injured or anything. And the next big thing was when I was 21. and my home was robbed at 6:15 in the morning. So my dad was about to leave for work, and when he got out the van to close the gate on his way out, that's when they kind of surrounded him with guns and all of that. There was a bunch of people, and we were held hostage in our home for like a few hours in the morning, literally, not even at night or anything. But through all of this stuff that's happened to me, I've always felt this light within me, and I was always happy. And more than happiness, I guess all the stuff happening to me really made me understand life is so amazing. And I was just so grateful that my dad, my grand, and everyone was just still alive and they were still with me. Of course, we all have a breaking point, and mine was last year when my mom passed away, because she passed away with so many unanswered questions, so many what if scenarios, like what if we could have been better? What if I understood her more when I was a mom? Like all of that stuff. And at first, it didn't break me straight away. So it took a few months to happen gradually. And no one actually knows this. I recently just told Sharon, but I went to therapy earlier this year. And for me, it was just before lockdown, so I went for a few sessions, and then I had all of these issues opened up and that I never knew I had. And then bam, here comes lockdown, and my therapist has to go away because she works from home and lives with her mom and whatever. So for safety reasons, she had to close down. So here I am now with all these issues I never even knew I had, and I'm like in this depression and this emotional state, and just not just with my mom, but just with everything. And then, as if it was like sent by God, or just this amazing thing, the timing was so perfect that even Sharon says she thinks it was divine intervention as well, that conversations with Sharon happened. And when conversations with Sharon happened, it was just at a time I really needed it, because I think I was at like the lowest I'd ever been. And Sharon helped me realize and truly understand that I'm more than my trauma, because I just became stuck in all the stuff that happened to me. And Sharon really helped me to understand that that's not me. There's just so much more to me. And during the program, she taught us how to get still, how to get quiet, and how to just connect with yourself and just start loving and accepting you again. And something that stands out that she said to us was, you can't love who you are and still hate the experiences that you've had. And so that helped me realize that everything that happened kind of just shaped me into who I am. And she just shared many teachings, stories, and techniques with us. And I really felt them in my soul. Like I'd thought about coaching before and everything, but this was just when I was ready for it. And Sharon is just so good at just saying the right stuff and really connecting with us and seeing what we need. It was also really powerful and just life changing to be here, not just with me, but with other women in this safe container that also shared. And I felt like I wasn't alone anymore. And it wasn't just me, but other women who had gone through it as well. And just like I was being hugged by light. And so conversations really came into my life when I was in pieces. And I was too afraid, and also in some ways too ashamed to ask for help, because I'm always the strong one in my life, and the one people come to. So for me, being vulnerable is like a huge thing. So thank you so much, Sharon, for making us feel so comfortable, so safe, and just raining love on us. Listening to everyone share also helped me heal in a big way. So thank you to the Conversation Sisters who shared too.
Yeah. Wow. Sure. Dee, I know it's sort of little bits and pieces, but when you just share it in that full way, it just helps me to understand that as women in particular, we go through a lot. And I made that little video yesterday to say, as women, we must never underestimate our power and, the incredible strength that we have. And again, to recognize that what you're going through is just life happening for you. It's never happening to you. It's always happening for you. And you've come, to this place where you are so prepared, and you started Warrior Bosses, and it's successful, and people love the way that you connect with them, and all of those experiences, all of those situations have culminated in you, in who you are. but when we're in it, we can't see it. It's too close to home. And when you do get a little bit quiet and you get a little bit still, there's a gap. And it's like music. It's the music sometimes happens in between the notes. It's the pause. It's that gap that creates something more, that we hear more. And being still means we get to hear more. And so some of the things that you said, I don't even remember saying them. Like I always tell you, it's the live stream. When you connect, it comes when it comes, and it comes when it's needed. And you can't always prepare for those things. So thank you for sharing so fully. Honestly, Dee, it's just beautiful how far you've come. So I just want to give everyone a little bit of background. When I started really sort of maybe focusing a bit more on the community and rather, less on the international side of coaching, that was when really things started to shift for me. And I was so fortunate because I'd asked someone who I'd met through another networking situation, if they knew of somebody who could help me. And she was like, yes, I've just met this amazing young girl, and she's kind of fresh out of her studies and she's qualified, and I think you're going to like her, and it's a good match. And it didn't even take me 5 minutes to meet with Dee and say, I think I found my person. And it was just such a beautiful connection. So I know I was one of Dee's very first clients, and that will stay like that, because it's like she thinks with my brain. It's so awesome. And I love that about you, Dee. So, I think what people would love to hear is what is it that what did you hear? What was obvious for you by doing the program, by doing conversations? What were your key learnings?
Okay, so here, we always feel alone in our struggles, but through the program, I learned that I'm never alone, even when it feels that way. I've learned that I'm always connected to something bigger than me and my problems. Like people, you can call it God or the source, but I like to call it the universe. So now, all I do when I just feel alone and just like life's not happening my way is I just get out of my head, stop thinking so much, and just get quiet and listen to the world. And another thing that I learned is there's a difference between not right now and no, because I was this person like plan everything, it must happen at this time, at this day, follow the goals. But in conversations, I learned that it's all good to have goals, but you also need to detach yourself. And just because something doesn't happen right now for you, it doesn't mean that it will never happen. And like Sharon says, it just means this isn't the time it's supposed to happen, and everything happens in divine right timing. So that was something that was so obvious and key for me.
So Dee, I'd love for you to share a little bit. We had a 2-minute chat before everyone hopped on the call, and obviously you shared with me what happened to you last week and the difference that you experienced as opposed to prior to learning these principles. Would you like to share that with us?
Yes, sure, of course. So a few 2 days ago, literally, at 3 o'clock in the morning on Saturday/Friday nights, there was an attempted robbery at my house. So they broke into our garage roof, and then now they're in the garage, and they're busy trying to break down the kitchen gates and the kitchen door, which is when we thankfully heard them and alerted the security company and whatever. And they were all like awesome in response. They got here in under 10 minutes, and they arrested him and kind of detained him, waited for the police to get here, and he got arrested and whatever. So that was just what happened. But the thing for me that was this major shift is the last time, and whenever anything happened, like I always got consumed in what if it was worse? What if someone died? What if this happened? What if I was kidnapped? Or very like realistically speaking, in with the stats in South Africa, what if I was raped even? And so that was me before. Whenever a crisis happened, I'd kind of just go there for a few days, like, whoo, this could have happened, that could have happened, and just like everyone's stressed out, everyone's having a heart attack. But even as it was happening, this time I was just calm. I was like, okay, so this is what we can do now, is just call for help. And if help doesn't come, if we are going to be robbed, then we're just going to be robbed. We just have to be calm, get through the process, and just wait for it to be over. And even with my family, like I live with my dad and my gran, and afterwards they were so angry, so frustrated, and so stressed, and they were like, this could have happened, that could have happened. And I'm like, you know what, guys, I know that all of this could have happened, but there's infinite what ifs, and none of that happened. So instead of dwelling, of course it was terrible that we were almost robbed, but wasn't it awesome? And shouldn't we be grateful that we are alive, that they didn't actually get into our house, that we weren't harmed? So that was me. I was actually grateful after an attempted home invasion, thanks to
Wow.
conversations.
Wow, Dee. I mean, that's remarkable. And I wouldn't want people to think that it's being irresponsible or it's not being cautious or anything like that. It's none of those things. Yes, we are aware. Yes, we have emotions. Yes, stuff does happen. And we don't need to put our head in the sand and say, oh, it's all fine, we're going to be okay. In the moment, it's very stressful, and it's very uncomfortable, and it's really very scary. And we understand all of those things. I think the big change is when you realize that getting caught in your thinking is what creates the feeling. So there's no point in getting over, cautious and overthinking and over exaggerating and over criticizing and over judging. If you can just have that quiet space, even in that situation, there's a quiet space where you can connect to source, which is always there for you, no matter what happens. And we're not saying that nothing's ever going to happen. Life will happen. It's how are you going to respond to what's happening? And now we find ourselves in this situation, with lockdown, and people are really stressed and very, very frightened. And I'm not minimizing that by any stretch of the imagination. But what you just experienced is evidence that it's possible, even in the most awful situation that you experienced, even after all the things that you've experienced, that you can still kind of rise above that and realize that this is not defining me. This is not who I am. This is just what's happening external, what's going on the internal. And it's always an inside out response if you really want to get to the next level of being in that space where you are tapping into something way bigger than you. So thank you for sharing that as well. So where's the biggest difference that you've seen for yourself, prior to now, Dee? Like, give us an idea of, your sort of average default mode and where you are now.
Okay, so this is like, it's funny because you use movies here. So the biggest difference is for me that my reactions and my perceptions. And as you taught us, we live life and everyone can live the same life and see it differently. So we all make up these movies in our head about how this is going to happen and oh my God, this is happening. And it's just kind of how we see things. It's like you told us during conversations that you can look outside and see the sunshine and be grateful that we have sunshine and a beautiful day. But a farmer who needs rain can look outside and say, oh my God, there's sunshine, but I actually really need the rain. So it's all about how we see things. And now, after conversations, I've realized that no matter the situation, even if the worst stuff is happening in the world, which it is, it's how you choose to see it and how I choose to react to it. Then that part, the perception and reaction, is actually more important than the situation in itself. At least that's what I think. And as Sharon mentioned during conversations, we're not in control, but we're not in control either. So I've stopped obsessing, and I've stopped forcing things like before. It's way easier to just be in flow than to keep forcing something. And so previously, so in marketing, it's very creative, and you kind of have to be in flow to really let work flow and all of that. So previously, if something wasn't going my way with work or whatever, I would just keep on trying and trying, and then it would just stress me out and being stressed and working from a place of stress and like under pressure, just be at it for hours and hours. But like insanity is defined as doing the same thing and expecting a different result. And so that never used to work for me. Now, what I've realized is that when something's not working and when you're just not feeling it, just stop. The best thing to actually do is stop and recognize that it's not flowing. Take a pause, even if it's for 5 minutes. go outside, just get out of the physical place. As Sharon said, just physically take yourself out the space and just go do something that's not related to work, like water the plants, take a walk in the garden, whatever the case is. And just being calm for a few minutes. And when you go back to it, your magic just starts flowing again. And so many times you just get these ideas, like just go with them when you get them. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Inspiration can happen anytime.
Oh, that is so beautifully put, Dee. I love that. Yes, it's such a old way and old-fashioned way of thinking, and we were all conditioned like that. I mean, many of you are all into personal development and self-help. We all are. That's why we're here together on this call. That's who we are. And the old way of like, rah, rah, I've got to do it, and if it's to be, it's up to me, just does not work in the real world. Just look what we are living with. Who would have ever imagined that we would have this? So life is going to come as it's going to come, happen as it's going to happen. And if you are emotionally resilient and you've got that sort of psychological fitness, you will get through it. You will. We are designed to adapt. That's who we are as human beings. And so the old way of teaching and training is, you've got to get all your ducks in the row. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm saying be a little bit more loose. You've got to have goals and visions. I'm not saying you shouldn't have them, but don't get attached to the outcome. You've got to be ritualized and you've got to be disciplined. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but don't be so gripped in it. Don't, white knuckle your way through it, because that is what causes the stress. And anytime you're thinking from that place in your head, from that sort of, I've got to do it, you will not have the flow. You will not tap in, because genius doesn't come from that. You think of the stories of so many people. I can think of so many. The one that stands out for me was Michelangelo, who used to disappear for ages, and people would be looking for him, and then they'd say, where have you been? He's like, I've been in the woods. But you've got work to do. He said, yes, I know, that's why I went to the woods, so that I could get back and do the work properly. So this idea of working 12, 14, 16 hours a day is nuts. It doesn't have to be that way. And as you know, Dee, my weeks have got smaller. I don't work on Mondays. This is what I do, and I do some admin. I don't work on Fridays. I coach Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and I take a whole week off at the end of every single month, no matter what's going on. And somehow everything has got better. My income has increased. My business has grown. My life felt better. My health is better. Everything's just better. So you don't have to buy into those old ways. There's two types of people. Those that are going to be like, it's going to happen, and you'll watch the space. I'm never going to give up. And you've got those others who will be like, it's going to happen. Watch the space. I'm going to be calm through the whole thing, and I'm going to love every single moment. That's the juice of life. That's taking the magic carpet ride. So thank you for that, Dee. So I know that there's so many changes that you've made, but I'd really like to sort of understand, what really helped you to make those decisions, like high quality decisions, and, get those beautiful, fresh ideas. Can you talk to that a little bit for me? Especially through your work. It's such a creative job that you do.
Yes, I love it. And it's so true. Like now I love every moment of what I do, which is what it's all about. Why do what you love if you're just going to be stressed anyway? And so the thing that's helped me with high quality decisions is just across the board. I'm very indecisive, or I used to be at least. So I used to take way too long to make decisions. Every decision was like a pros and cons list, and then asking people for advice and opinions. Like I didn't trust myself enough, and I wasn't as bold as I knew I could be. So I've always been told, like, you have amazing instincts, you just trust them. But I never really got that. And now I've gotten much, much better at doing that. So now whenever there's a decision, I'm just like, okay, deep breath, just get quiet for a little bit, listen to yourself, and just make the decision. And you know what? Like, if the decision is for the better, or it's not for the better, you'll just deal with it afterwards. But making a decision is better than just being stuck in limbo forever, which is what I was doing. And so I've with doing this, just trusting myself and getting quiet, I've made my business even better. And like, so I work very closely with people because it's marketing, and I have a very good relationship with my clients. I like to call it our client family. And so now it's like I understand them more, and I can serve them on a much deeper level than if I was just getting stuck and taking like a week to make a decision. So that's that. And then I've also made for Warrior Bosses, which is my business support group. Things that I was afraid to do before, I've just done them now. And I've started this new series with sharing entrepreneur stories, because we all have stories to share and we can all inspire each other. So things that I was afraid to do and that I was analyzing way too much, I've just kind of taken the plunge now, thanks to Sharon's advice on trusting that everything is happening for you. And my biggest high quality decision was actually to embrace the writer in me, because I love writing and I obviously do it a lot for work. But with Sharon saying you need to do the things that make you feel alive, and writing makes me feel so alive and so happy. So now I'm literally just writing for me. I'm writing about experiences, things that happen. I'm even writing about like the little rose bush, just whatever. So I'm just writing to be happy. And when I'm doing that, I'm kind of just feeling like I'm just being hugged and surrounded by this beautiful light. So yeah.
That's beautiful. So, you know, Dee, I'd love for us to talk a little bit as well about what happened just before you came onto conversations, you know, that experience that you were in, because I think so many people were in a very similar experience to you, and you felt so alone at that time. If you remember, you know, you were saying things are not going so well, and I was like saying, Dee, where are you? You know, I'm looking for you. And then, you know, we had one or two little conversations. So tell us a little bit about what you were then, what happened to you, and how you came out of it. And by the way, I think something might be on your thing. It's making a bit of a noise when you're
Oh,
talking and
sorry.
moving.
It's this beaded necklace.
Ah,
Is it a
okay.
little bit better now?
Yes, that's better. Okay.
Okay,
So
cool.
speak to us of that time. I'd be fascinated to hear, because we've never had a conversation since that in depth of what it was that you experienced at that time. And I'd love to also hear, you know, what shifted for you in terms of your thinking and your feeling, more importantly.
Okay, so like I said earlier, I've always been happy. That's just been who I was. And with my mom passing away, and knowing that, having the knowledge that my mom had bipolar, and then she passed away, and depression can be triggered if you have the gene by traumatic events and really stressful situations. And because I had so many, and like my mom's death really like did a number on me, I mean, as it would anyone. And so really I got stuck in thinking, oh my god, am I gonna be diagnosed with bipolar depression now? Is this gonna be my life now? Is this gonna be the trauma that triggers the depression gene? And so I'm this person that's kind of there for everybody else, and I'm always strong, resilient, all of that. So it's, to say it now, it sounds stupid and silly, but I was actually afraid to ask anyone for help. And they say, when people say like you feel sad, you feel grief, da da da, but also depression is about feeling numb. And so for some time I just felt nothing. I felt like I don't want to do anything anymore. I was just kind of there stressing out about what the hell's going to happen to me now. Am I going to get depressed? Am I going to have to be hospitalized? All of that, because that's what my mom went through. And that was my childhood, like seeing my mom hospitalized for depression, seeing how bad it could be, and all of that. So it really was terrible. And so for a few weeks there, I was depressed, simply put, and I just didn't want to do anything, everything that I loved about life. And because I've built a really good life for myself, I love it, I love everything about it, and I love the people in it, but I felt so alone, and like I couldn't reach out to even my best friends or even my grand, because, and like with my family, I was afraid to open up to them because I didn't want them to worry that I'm gonna become depressed like my mom. So it was really scary, and I was just feeling like I'm all alone. in this.
Mm.
And then with talking to Yusha, and I remember that video that you sent me about you are not your trauma. Just that sentence stayed with me, and I think it always will. And all of your advice, and then conversations happening just at that time, it helped me realize that you also don't have to be afraid to ask for help. Like, you're not going to be all happy all the time, and sometimes things are not going to go well, and that's okay. It's okay to break down. It's okay to cry. Like, as you said, crying is such a beautiful thing, actually, and it's a beautiful way of expressing ourselves, and crying makes us feel better. So you helped me become comfortable with crying as well. And the important thing is not to live there. Don't just get stuck in your meltdown, and don't just get stuck in your sadness or your depression or whatever. Like, let yourself be and feel your way through it. A lot of people say, oh, just move on or just let it go, but that's kind of just burying it inside, because you don't actually feel anything. You just ignore it, build up walls. And you taught me to feel that emotion first, and then after that, when I'm ready to let go. So yeah.
Mm. I think it's been something that has been so perpetuated in our society, just get over it, and like you say, we don't have to marinate in it, but it's going to come and it's going to go. That's life. As you know, I lost my sister on the 10th of April. Today is 4 months. It's exactly 4 months since I lost her, just a few weeks into lockdown. And when I had to drive her car to the airport on Thursday, which I made that little video about, it was a moment that I really understood about living. It's like, oh my word, anything can happen tomorrow. And I don't live in that fear of it, but I live with the delight of living today, because I have no clue what's coming tomorrow. So why not have your best life? And Dee, I mean, I laugh about it now, but I remember sending you that little WhatsApp text that I said to something along the lines of, Dee, you have an obligation to me, call me. Do you remember that? How did you feel about that?
That was like, I thank the universe, and I'm thank God that you sent me that text, because that was what woke me up. Like, Dee, what the hell are you doing? Do you want to throw everything away that you've worked for and this amazing life that you have? And I was like, no, you need to just get out of this now. It's enough now, Dee. Like, you have an obligation, and not just an obligation, but you have this beautiful gift that you should be sharing with the
Yes.
world. And for
Yes.
me, that gift is creating marketing stuff. And like, I'm like, Dee, you've been given this gift, you have to get back to sharing it now. Like, come on. So yeah, that was just the wake up call, the wake up text.
Yes, and it's to remind people of their gifts. And I have to say, my dear long-suffering husband is one that reminds me of mine all the time as well, and I'm so grateful for that. I kind of think of it as being a good gardener. It's a little principle I learned years, maybe 20 years ago. If you're a good gardener, you'll go and take care of the plants, of the flowers. You'll nurture them, you'll water them, you'll feed them, and you'll kind of either pull out the weeds or ignore them. And by taking those away or just ignoring them and giving them no energy and no attention and no focus and no nurturing and no watering, they're automatically just going to go on their own. And it's about focusing on what is good, on the gifts, on all of the beautiful parts of your life. And what's come to mind while you were saying that is, I would have hated, Dee, I would have hated for you to have missed the good life that you have. That would have been awful for me. And that's what I was starting to see as like, Dee has got something incredibly special. And if no one's going to remind her, I'm going to be that one. No matter what goes on and no matter what she responds, I'm going to remind her of who she really is, to remember who she is. And sometimes we do need that support. And if we can't get it, if we can't give it to ourselves, we have to reach out. We have to put up our hands and say, can you just be with me? Can you just sit with me? Can you hold space for me? It can be 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 hours. It doesn't matter. If we really say that we all one, if we really say we're connected and we believe it, we will be there for other. We will be in service to other. Okay. So Dee, what's in the future for you now that you've you've come through such a big thing. You've had another piece of evidence for yourself. You've just been through this recent awful thing that's happened. What do you feel is now coming up for you in the future? Have you got any plans? What's looking like a vision for you?
Okay, so yes, I do. The first one would be with my writing. So I've done writing for me, which I haven't shared. So I want to work on starting a blog where I just write. And the blog isn't to get like reach or engagement or whatever. It's just to write, to share stories, and to make people comfortable talking about the difficult stuff and talking about mental health, talking about depression, because people feel ashamed. Even like I felt ashamed to ask the people closest to me for help. So I want to write about it. I want to be real. I want people to know that they're not alone in this. And with warrior bosses, I feel like that's such an important part of who I am, helping other women in business. And as women, you just want to be superwoman and you just want to take care of everyone and not really yourself. So I really want to do more with that, even to say to the extent of starting a podcast where people share their feelings with each other and just really just help each other through their stories, because similarly as conversations, hearing someone else's story inspires you. And with the first one that we did, someone literally messaged, you were on Sharon with Kathy. I had someone message me and say that helped me so much, because now I'm at the beginning of my business and I know anything is possible because Kathy was where I am and I know there's a future. So that's what I want to do. I want to impact people and just help them.
Oh, I love that. I love that. It reminds me of that quote of Rumi's, and I often do mess these up, but when he talks about I've been knocking on the door, waiting for it to open, and all the time it opened on the inside. And it's that discovery about yourself, is that you have everything you need right now in this moment to be whatever it is that you would like to be. You're not broken. You don't need fixing. You don't need patching or plastering or remodeling. You have everything that you need, and it's that kind of trust that we need to grow into if we don't have it already. Because I've seen that in you, Dee. I've seen how you've exercised that little trust muscle. You just keep picking it up now since conversations, and it's been a lovely thing to see you sort of unfold, and find out the genius that you really have in such a big way. And I look forward to your writing. I'd like to invite you to be the first guest blogger on my site.
Hey, thank you. I would love that.
I'd love to hear that. Thank you so much. So I'd love to hear if there's any questions. I mean, we've all got our stories. Is there anyone here that would like to ask Kathy something, Deveshni, something about what happened and how she coped with it, and where she is now, or where you are, and how you see the relatability to her story? Is there anyone? You can just type it in the chat box or just raise your little digital hand. And you know how to do that. You go down to the participants button and you press there, and you'll get an opportunity to raise your hand if anyone has got a question. Is there anyone? Or you could just put yourself on video and raise your hand. We'll see you, because there's 13 of you, so I can see you all on the screen. Anyone would like to ask something? Not just yet? Okay. I see Nana. Hi, I've never met you. Lovely to meet you. Opening your heart to see the brighter side after acknowledging the situation. Well done. Yeah, it was beautiful the way that you described that story just recently, wasn't it, Nana? I really enjoyed that too. So there we go. Jillian is saying, my mother was the same and I've never expressed it. Where did you find the strength? Oh, that is a beautiful question, Jillian. Would you like to address that, Dee?
Yes, sure. So this is really difficult. And to me, I guess the first step was kind of admitting it. And also something that took me a while to realize was that it wasn't me. It wasn't my fault. And like, no one could blame me for being born. I was just born. That's all I did. So it took me a while to realize that my mother's issues were her issues, and that my mother had her own emotional struggles and her own kind of load to deal with, and she had her depression and all of that. And of course, she did get help and things, but she just never wanted a child. And you know what? it took me a while to realize it's my mother. She didn't want a child and I was born. All I did was be born. There was nothing wrong with me. There was no defect in me. There was nothing I had to fix in me for her to want me, because what she wants is her prerogative and I have nothing to do with what she wants. So it took me a while to just get there, firstly, and also to just forgive her, because I can't blame you for what you want and how you feel. Like, that's just, that's not going to help me or her. And just to forgive her and realize that I had to admit I was never going to have this dream mother-daughter relationship. And so I had to become okay with that. And I had to just, anyone who knows me will know, like, I have so many women in my life that are so amazing. So I looked to them more and just eventually became comfortable with sharing that. And it was only after I really understood that it wasn't my fault and that being born wasn't something I could control, and that my mother was broken before I came along and it wasn't my
Wow.
burden to carry.
Wow. Yes. That also reminds me of the thing I love to just express and say there's only three kinds of business: my business, your business, and God's business. So if you keep just focusing on your business, you give permission to everyone else to focus on theirs, and where the intervention must come, it will come. And filling your cup is not selfish. It's the most selfless thing you could do, because then you've got so much more to give. And Bev has written here, Dee, you're truly amazing after everything you've been through. Well done. And working through all of this will help you understand and help others. Yes, Bev, you obviously know that so well. You know, it is part of that cycle and circle of life that you've had to come through to get to where you are today, to be in the place right now in divine timing with where you are to share. So I'm looking forward, and I'm excited about what's going to come out of DVS and Warrior Bosses in the future, and so lovely to be a part of it. So Dee, let's just talk a little bit about, you know, what we went through with conversations, because you were there, and you never missed a call. Dee never missed a call, and it was a gift to her. I knew that she needed to be there, and I said, come on, just get on the call. And you helped to change so many people. Do you want to tell us a little bit about our competition winner on Conversations, how remarkable that was, and what you experienced going through that? You know, more of, you know, we did business and success, and then we did, you know, personal relationships, and then we did, you know, the universal principle of thought, consciousness, and mind. So do you want to speak to that a bit?
Okay, sure. This is going to be a little bit difficult because there's just so much, but I'll try to cover the highlights. So before Conversations, I was a tick off list person, and now I know that that's not how life is supposed to be. All I'm supposed to be doing is just living. And we had an amazing lady. Her name is Lindy, and she sent this thing about surrender is not the best way to live. It's the only way to live. And Sharon elaborated and taught on that, and about how we need to stop obsessing with perfection. We need to stop obsessing with keeping up with the Joneses or whatever. Like, we don't have to live any certain way. The life that we have now is the life that we're supposed to have. This is where we need to be right now. And once you stop obsessing over what you don't have and over perfection, that's when you start living, and you can just really be happy with who you are and your life right now. That was a huge thing for me, is to just stop obsessing and start living. And also to be more comfortable with feeling and also sharing my feelings, because I was afraid and ashamed. I thought I had to just be made of steel, strong person that was just unbreakable, there for everyone, and like that having emotions was a bad thing and that it made me weak. But Conversations made me realize that having emotions made me stronger, and that there's a huge difference between being weak and being vulnerable and sharing who you truly are. And it helped with all the sharing in the group, and with Sharon's sharing, it helped me realize that sharing your feelings and your story can actually help people more than just keeping this strong facade. And so it really helped me express myself more and got me more into my feelings, I guess. Desiree was just okay. So Sharon gave away a free spot on Conversations on social media, where we got people to enter. We put the names into this lucky draw, and Sharon drew a name out of a hat, and that name happened to be Desiree. And wow, like that was just incredible, because I know Desiree from Warrior Bosses, but I had no idea what Desiree was going through and what Desiree was experiencing. So Desiree's mom had just passed away, and just a few months after her mom, her brother had passed away, and so she was in this deep state of grief, and she didn't share that. And Desiree couldn't cry. She had this problem with crying and with expressing her emotions, and that was something she really struggled with. And literally during one of our calls, during Conversations, while we were sharing, she was telling us about her story and about how she feels, and she just started crying, and it was like this beautiful, powerful experience where she could just cry again. And the whole program, in the way she described it, helped her to reconnect with herself. And she pushed people away because they expected her to feel a certain way after her death. And because she couldn't express her emotions and she couldn't grieve in the traditional way or the way you're supposed to, people would judge. She felt like people were judging her for feeling that way. People were judging her for not breaking down and for not crying and all of that. So she pushed everyone away. She pushed away her family. She pushed away her friends. And just in being in Conversations, and Sharon gave us this amazing exercise to do, which was think about a fight that you've had with someone that's close to you and try and get out of the fight and picture you in their perspective and picture why they said what they said and what was their thinking behind that. Why did they feel that way in the argument? Because often when we argue with people, especially I think with the people we love most, is we stuck in how we feel about this, but we don't stop to think, how do they feel about this? That helped me as well, because I had an argument with someone, and then when I really did that exercise, I realized we were both, at the end of the day, is we just cared about each other. And ironically, that's why the argument happened, because you care but you can't express it properly. And with Desiree, that's what happened. She started realizing that all these people that she pushed away, she pushed them away because they cared about her and because she couldn't be emotional in a way that was traditional, that was accepted. And so then she just started reconnecting with her friends, reconnecting with her family, letting herself be emotional, letting herself feel. And yeah, that was so beautiful and just powerful.
Yeah, no, it really, really was. And she sent me a message, and I think she's going to be sharing as well, that she was on the brink of going to a psychiatrist. Was so severe in her pain and her grief. And she's fine now. She's absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, thank you for sharing that as well. And I know that you know her well, and I'm sure we're going to see her go from strength to strength as well. So if there are no more questions, I'm going to sort of conclude now. If anyone wants to ask a question or make a comment. Dee, is there anything else that you would like to sort of highlight for anybody? Would you like to bring anything up? Any other, bits of understanding or wisdom that's come through for you now while you've been talking?
Okay, so my biggest thing is it's a Sharonism. So all Sharon's advice and wisdom nuggets, I kind of call them Sharonisms now. My favorites are life is not happening to you, life is happening for you. And then Sharon extrapolates and she's like, everything happens in divine right timing. Where you are now is exactly where you're supposed to be. Stop fighting it, just live your way through it.
Thank you, Dee. That's lovely. I need to be reminded of those because sometimes I don't remember them all.
Yes, and if anyone, whenever you need reminders, Shah, or if anyone wants to check out all your other wisdom, it is also on your Facebook and Instagram.
This is true. This is true. Thanks to you. Thanks to you. So, yeah, I'd love just to talk a little bit about Conversations. We're starting next week, Monday, on the 17th. And I'm really offering it. There's so much value. I know that for sure. And it's never ever going to be this price again. It's doubled in price. It will double again because it was a new platform. We wanted to really test the waters, and it worked so remarkably well. So we're online again tonight at 7:30. If you've got husbands or partners or boyfriends or brothers or sons or whatever, or you're so welcome. Some of you today have said you want to be there tonight as well, and you're welcome to be there, because I thought I was going to encourage the men in their own little container, but it seems unless the women bring them there, they're not going to be there. So we're inviting the women to be there as well, so the men feel supported. And the program is being offered at 1,200 Rand. It's crazy, for 15 hours of online live coaching. I'm never going to offer it like this again, I can assure you. And we've got some exciting new developments. If you can stay on the line afterwards, I want to tell you of what's happened in the last 24 hours. As these things happen, as you do these things, new things come to light. And I'd love for you to be part of it if you'd like to take part. It starts on the 17th. We meet every single morning for 3 weeks, Monday to Friday at 8 a.m. We start on time, we finish on time, and it's a little drip feed over time. And sometimes what happens is, even in the conversation, you may go away and it will come to you later, or a day later, or a week later, because at the end of the day, this is not about what you are hearing always, it's how you are feeling and how it makes you feel thereafter. Sometimes people can't even describe what happened. They can't even tell you what it was that they heard. They just know they feel like you did, Dee. What happened to you on Saturday? You just feel better. You feel calmer. You feel more at peace. You feel less anxious. And that, after all, is what we're looking for. It doesn't matter what you're doing, how you're doing it, who you're doing it with, and what time you're doing it. It's how do you feel? We're all looking for that feeling. What is happiness? It's about a feeling. What is peace? It's a feeling. What is fulfillment? It's a feeling. It's not about getting anything when it comes to this. It's about letting go. 100% of this journey is about letting go. And like you said, Dee, surrender is not one of the ways to live. It's the only way. Surrender, let go. Surrender, let go. And watch what fills that space when you let go, when you give it a little bit of a gap and a little bit of a pause in between. So anybody want to ask anything or say anything? Dee, would you like to sort of conclude?
I do want to say something about conversations, is that especially now during this pandemic, lockdown, working from home and whatever, if you're just looking for a reason to wake up with some extra pep in the morning and an extra spring in your step, like just a reason to enjoy and look forward to the next day, conversations will do that. Because it helped me get back into the routine of waking up early and loving days again, because I had these conversations to look forward to every day. And it was from 8 to 9 in the morning. So the whole day was just amazing because of that. And you looked forward to the next one. So it gives you this reason to love life again. And Sha, I see that we have some comments as well.
Yes.
And also I want to say that, or you can also say, all the information about conversations is on Sharon's social media. So it's just Sharon Castle, lifestyle and wellness coach, and everything you need is there to sign up. It's truly amazing. It'll be the best 1,200 that you ever spend. Trust me, it's just life-changing.
Thank you, Dee. That's so nice. And Bev is saying, how many people on conversations? However many get on the call. However many. I wouldn't like more than 50. If we have 2, I'll be happy. If we have 20, I'll be happy. But I think more than that would be too many. So however many want to be there. And like I said, it's a really, really, it's an awesome offer, because it's not just me as a talking head. It's everybody. It's a community. It's everyone getting together and sharing the story and understanding that they're not alone. It's about creating this tribe that you can all connect to, because after all, we're all in this together. We all are connected. And why not do it on a platform like this, where we can actually be in the comfort of our home or office or wherever it is that you're going to be, and just get these little feeds every single day. Lindsay saying, thank you, Dee, for sharing yourself and for the wonderful insight, Sharon and Dee. Thank you, Dee, for sharing us. Oh, yeah, she's twice. Okay, cool. Beautiful. Any other questions? Anybody want to make a comment? Aretha, hello.
Yeah. Hi, thank you so much, Dee, for sharing your story. Very touching and very impactful. Thank you, Sharon, for this platform, for us to all take a piece of, because there is a piece of us in the stories and in everything that's shared. It may present itself in a different way, but everyone goes through some form of pain, and this is awesome. My question is, when you are in the rut, because you're a very, very bubbly person, and if you didn't share today, many would not have had an idea of what you go through. So on a day when, how do you take yourself out of that feeling of sadness? Because you could listen to motivational tapes and everything, but still not get out of it. What do you do?
Are you asking Deveshni or are you asking me? Dee?
Actually, it's a question I think both of you can answer.
Yes, it is. Okay, so maybe I'll go, and then Sharon, you can elaborate and go because you have more wisdom. Okay, so Ari, you are so right. So I'm always just bubbly and happy. And so when I get sad, I get really sad. So all I have to do is just disconnect for a little bit, even if it's a few hours, just get away from everything and whatever, and just be sad for a while. And then I have to remember I can't get stuck here, or I'm just going to be stuck here forever. And also, it's this big thing because I feel like I have a gift, and my gift is creating and connecting people. So I have to remind myself that, Dee, you have a big job in this universe. Like, you have this gift, and you have to share this gift. And also, it's not just that other people have shared with you, and other people have helped me, like so many phenomenal women in my life. And so I feel like because they've given to me, I have to also give, and I have to give to myself as well. So all I do is just love myself through it, I guess.
Wow.
And Shah, you can elaborate.
Well, I wanted to just talk to one thing to add to that, Aretha, and that was, you're so right. You can read the motivational books. You can watch the YouTube videos till the cows come home. You can write affirmations till you're blue in the face. All of that stuff, I'm not saying it doesn't work. It has its place, and you'll get where you want to go eventually. But it's exhausting. It's absolutely so tiring. And when you understand that it comes from inside of you, not outside of you. Anytime you're looking outside of you and looking at the situation, the person, whatever it is, the circumstance, and saying, that's why I feel this way, you're barking up the wrong tree, because it always comes from you. We live in a thought-created reality. We are making up our world as we go along, regardless of what's going on outside of you. And you might be hearing this and thinking, what on earth is she talking about? That's what conversations is all about. And am I right in saying, Dee, there was not one person that left conversations that didn't feel peaceful, calm, have direction, experience more success, and have better relationships? So it's just, so you've already got it. I'm not teaching you tools. I don't want to do that. I did that for years. After 38 years of coaching, I know what works. That stuff works, but you will be tired. So why not go double the distance in half the time? This is the shortcut. But it's not the shortcut that I'm saying you can hack into it. It's there already. I'm not reinventing anything. I'm helping you to tap into the genius that you have already. You were born with that coding. And all you've done is pack on a whole lot of stuff that you believe is true from, your family of origin, your culture, your community, your country, your whatever. This is about an unlearning, so that you can fill with what it is that's real and true and right. Does that answer your question, Aretha?
Yes, it absolutely does. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Anyone else?
One more thing, Shah, from the movies. So you taught us that we make the movie of our life. And so that's something that stuck with me as well. And since we write our stories as well, we write the story of our life, and we make the movies that we live in. We're in charge of them, so why not make them awesome? Like, we might as well just make them awesome.
Don't make a B-grade movie. Make an Oscar performance if you need one of those, Oscar-winning movie. Yeah, lovely. Right, so last opportunity. Anyone else want to say something, comment, ask a question? Are we all good? Great. All right, thank you everybody for being here. Dee, you were absolutely fabulous. You shared so honestly and so clearly, you articulated so well. I'm really, really looking forward to just journeying with you for however long we journey for, and just wishing you so much love and joy and happiness and good stuff in your life, really, because you so deserve it. We have one or two. Barsha says, thanks for sharing your true inspiration, Dee. Bev, thank you so much, Sharon and Dee. Really enjoyed it. Lovely to have had you, Bev. And thank you for all of you that have joined here today. And I look forward to seeing you on Conversations. Okay, bye for now.
Thanks so much, everyone, for all the love.
Thank you. Let's unmute everybody, host, so everyone can say goodbye.
Yeah. Bye, guys. Have a good day.
Bye.
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 Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Hi, Vino. You got on late, but nice to see you. Hello, Vino.
Hi, Sharon. Hi, Dee. Sorry,
How are
I
you
did
doing?
very well.
Yes.
I was on another Zoom meeting, so I just managed to get the tail end of yours.
Okay.
Well done.
Well, we can send you the link if you'd like, because we've recorded it.
I would really appreciate that.
Okay, we can stop recording now, host, please.